So welcome everyone. I'd opened up now the wrong agenda, so now on my computer, but I have the right agenda here on my phone. So we've done the call to order, and our first action then is to approve the agenda for today's meeting.
All right. Can everyone see the agenda?
You are not
No.
sharing.
That's weird. Okay, share screen, click. All right,
There we go.
now you can see it.
Move approval of the agenda.
Gladys will second.
All right. We have all in favor to accept today's agenda?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Any abstentions? Believe we're approved. Action to approve. Next action would be approve the minutes from the October 26th meeting.
I'd love to do that, but I wasn't there.
I move to approve the minutes.
And a second?
I'll second that.
All right. So we got a vote in favor to approve the October 26th meeting minutes. All in favor? Aye.
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 All
Aye.
opposed? Oh, too fast. No opposed. Any abstentions? That is approved. So we're now on to members' announcements. And I'm trying to remember how we normally work this.
It's a free for all. If anyone has an announcement that's not a report.
Yes.
Okay.
Not everyone's speaking at once, so we can start with reports.
Okay, well, I'm going to stop sharing my screen so that everyone can see better. So we a report from the Office of Emergency Services. We're introducing our new director.
Hi, I'm Kristen Waivoda. So I'm not new to Yolo County. Some of you know me from my old role in Yolo County. I spent 9 years as the EMS administrator and working in public health, and left Yolo for a small bit. And now I'm back in my new role in OES, and I'm happy to be here. I do have just a few updates. The mitigation projects, Kurt is currently working with the tree contractors to get those projects aligned and complete those projects. On our other projects, I'm still getting up to speed. So hopefully by our next meeting, I'll have more information to share, but have been getting a wealth of information from everyone on what projects have been going on and what updates need to be provided. So I hope to participate some more next meeting, and please feel free to update me or ask any questions you may have. And I look forward to working with this group.
Thank you.
Okay, well, next is the RCD coordinator report and project update.
All right, that's me really fast. Because you guys have all seen the coordinator report, which I sent out last week. Our meeting now we're happening. I will remind you now and several times before the month is out. Our next meeting is going to be the second Wednesday due to holidays and other things. And we'd like to have it at 3 p.m. because we have an RCD event at 4:30. So be a little bit earlier, but it'll feel like later because it gets dark so early. Severa is continuing to meet. Wes Winters is taking this month off. Yolo, the Solano Fire Safe Council, I do have an update for that, which I sent out. They're meeting December 5th on Zoom. Pleasance Valley's December 12th. Our leadership team meeting is taking a break, and we have not held a website development committee meeting, and the brown bag meetings aren't happening. So typical holiday disruption. We're moving along with our community wildfire protection plan. As you can see today, we're going to be talking about our projects list and trying to get that tightened up. And then we'll be working, we have our draft has been reviewed by the steering committee. So we're going to incorporate their comments and share that with Fire Safe Council at our before our December meeting. So you should see that on the 7th. And then it'll go out for review to Board of Supervisors and the fire chiefs. And then CAL FIRE will be the final signatory. So that is my report. I'm going to stop sharing so that we can see each other easier. And the next reporter is Kate for grants.
Okay,
Oh, great.
will you please enable screen sharing for me, Tanya?
I will. Oops. Okay.
Oh, okay. Okay, so usually I show you the funding matrix, and today there aren't any really new opportunities coming up, especially with respect to ones that have closing dates. I do encourage everyone to take a look again at the ongoing funding opportunities and some of those that are coming up quickly, that you can get yourself ready and apply right after they open. I'm thinking about the Fire Safe, the Firehouse Subs one, just to get a little bit of capacity going. Those are good opportunities. With respect to this opportunity here, this came through the Fire Adapted Communities Learning Network, and there's community clean air support funds available. We were thinking that we would apply for this funding. It's $5,000, and it's to launch or expand a HEPA filter program in the community. And this would be, we're checking on what is meant by HEPA filter, if it's actually only the filters or if it's air purification systems. And we were wondering if the Fire Safe Council feels like that would be a good use of time. It's a really quick application, that 5 questions that Tanya feels pretty confident she could belt out. And we were hoping for some direction from the Fire Safe Council about kind of what types of, first of all, is this something you feel like the community needs? And secondly, here you can see several different ways that other groups have made use of these funds. So in some places, filters, just a filter lending program. Other places they distributed, just gave out HEPA filters. Another place has a cache of filters that are again lent out. And then the Confederated Tribes of the Colville Reservation did a pretty cool education campaign and enabled some DIY filter creation. So anyway, we were hoping to just get some input. It's a really, we feel like it's pretty low hanging fruit and wouldn't take that long to put together an application, and we might be able to help out with some air quality. So that's my presentation or my pitch today, and wondering if we could get some feedback on that.
So we were hoping that the local fire safe councils and fire protection districts might help us out with the distribution of that stuff, but the actual grant application we will do.
Who would be the audience, or is that kind of what we're talking about here, or the clientele, or however you want to talk about it?
Well, that's the thing. It could go a few ways. It could be distributed to individual households, or it could be distributed to community centers that serve as a refuge during evacuation events. That's the thing. We can kind of mold this whatever way would work.
I mean, just off the top of my head, it seems like, any way to serve underserved communities seems like a no-brainer here. And we have so many ag workers in the area that, have to keep working or working a lot outside when these fires are happening. So, them having better filtration at home would be awesome.
That was our thinking as well. And smoke affects everybody, not just people in the high fire zones. So. Oh, it looks like we have some questions. Elaine, why don't you go first? Because you're not muted.
Yeah, I guess my question would be, is this a HEPA filter for the air conditioning heating system? Is that what you're talking about?
That is what I have, I emailed the funders in the past few days, and I haven't heard back from them, but that's what I'm asking them about, what the specifics, what do they mean by HEPA filters in these, and you can see in these descriptions, they talk about filters, and they also talk about large purifiers for public buildings. So I believe it sounds like that there's a lot of give and take in this, and we could kind of make it what we wanted it to be, but I'm waiting to hear back.
The reason I'm asking is because I'm wondering how someone's air conditioning heating system may not be compatible with a HEPA filter. That's the problem that I see.
Yeah, that was my thought too. And that we need more guidance from the funder, but once we have that, we can go forward. And as you can see, other communities have made it work. We might not be able to then help everyone. But we might want to look into having some sort of a DIY fix too, for those who have off-size filters in their AC units.
Yeah, another possibility I'm thinking of is the little air purifiers, room air purifiers that have HEPA filters. That's another possibility if the air conditioning heating unit won't cooperate. So I have a HEPA filter on mine. I just got it installed not too long ago, but my main concern is the compatibility with the particular person's air conditioning heating unit.
Yeah, we would have to work around that, because
Yeah.
certainly everyone doesn't have the same situation.
Okay.
Don had his hand up.
Well, I guess I'm having just heard that conversation. The only thing that I say in a different vein is that I like the idea of having some kind of a lending program, just because the nature of the problem seems to change a lot from year to year. Sometimes we're just, there are communities that are just sitting in a cloud of smoke, and that really hasn't happened this year, but there could be some people with who are acutely sensitive who could use a filter. So if we have something that's flexible, I think that would be helpful.
Thank you.
Let's see, Kate Laddish was next.
I think Bill might have had his hand up
Oh,
for me. So Bill, if you want to go, I'll go next.
Who's that? Is that me?
Yeah. Bill.
Okay. Yeah, I just, thank you. Several questions. I made up questions right now. I sort of missed the first part of this fire deputy network thing. Is this just simply funding, or is it a cache of filters that are being given to the Fire Safety Council? And I think that has, if I missed that, I apologize. But I'm not getting that impression, but I think it needs to be identified you know, what is our what is our cache? What type of filters are they? And then you can come up with a methodology for, you know, if they're Medify air filters that sit in a room, you know, you can have a criteria that says, you know, here's the criteria for applying for one, and then, you know, that's sorted out and they're given out until they're gone. The lending program is a good idea too, but you know, that's kind of like running an equipment rental yard. I'm not sure who's going to manage that. And then if you have you know, HEPA filters that simply slip into your HVAC, you know, have you been to Home Depot and seen the array of filters that are available? I mean, how's that going to be managed? So, I mean, those are my questions. I think if it was identified what the program actually, you know, gives that can then be distributed, then I think a plan can come up with the criteria for who gets them and how they're distributed. That's my thought.
Thank you. Thank you. And it's funding that it's $5,000 that I believe we would use to buy filters or buy air purification systems, or do an education campaign to teach residents how to build their own, to develop their own. So it's, I believe it's very fluid, and I'm awaiting response on that.
Yeah, and this is due December 2nd. So we're going to get your input and go from there. So Kate Laddish.
I mean, I think it's an exciting opportunity, and but I join everybody else with saying, wow, it'd be great when we understand more about what we could do with this. I think it might be worth thinking about what some identified needs already are that are out there. I mean, there's kind of been some discussion about what do you do during during smoke events, and you know, especially if there's also like a PSPS and, you know, and so something like some of the different places where people might go for, you know, whether it's community resource center or another basically shelter type situation. If there's a way to help a lot of people with one system, that might be something to think about, and might logistically be easier than trying to, as somebody else mentioned, try to fit everybody's individual HEPA filters in something, but that as somebody else mentioned, that there are a lot of people in our county who have to work outside, and so we're getting a lot of smoke exposure. And so there might be a way to partner with some networks that are already in place to help folks who at home who are getting that exposure. So whether it's building those, what is it, Corsi boxes, you know, the build your own filter that's with the box fan and the four HEPA filters, or a standalone filter. I think a bonus of this is that it helps with COVID safety. And so I think it would be great. The papers have come out that show that people who have a lot of smoke exposure are more likely to actually get infected with COVID-19. And so it'd be great from a public health point of view with that as well.
Thank you, Neil, and then Matt.
I tend to look at things a little bit more on the practical level. And the number one question I would have is, you know, when you get the $5,000 worth of HEPA filters, where do you put them? How do you store them? And then we've talked about distribution. And, you know, the reality is, somebody mentioned, is that there's such a variety of HVAC systems that that doesn't make sense to me. You know, if they were to allow us to purchase an entire unit that you could bring to people in need, that would be tremendous, except for the fact that where do you store them in the meantime when they're not in use, which is most of the time, and plus the lending library type of challenge that you'd be facing. So I would say there's so many questions. It may be better to pass on this opportunity till we learn more.
Thank you.
Okay, Matt, and then Phil.
Hi, good evening, everybody. Like the idea, this is really interesting. Just kind of reading through all the examples. I kind of share the same concern with Bill as well as Neil. Logistics always are going to be one of those things of kind of what to do with all that stuff and how is it going to be dispersed. My other thought is maybe targeting the program towards the schools or daycares, senior living, to work with them. And that way, these facilities typically have their own maintenance that could facilitate the cleaning, the switching out, the installation, and reduce the responsibility of the council to handle logistical side of that. That way, if they need it, they can kind of run it through. I like the idea of the daycare, the education, the senior living, like the 2 apartment complexes we have in Winters would be great options. And really, that's it. But it is kind of neat. It's a different thought for fire adapted communities.
Thank you.
you. Okay, Phil. You're muted.
Yeah, sorry about
Okay.
that. I just wanted to reinforce what Kate said earlier about the Corsi Rosenthal boxes. They're simple DIY devices that really anybody can build with some MERV 13 filters and a box fan from Home Depot and some duct tape. And they do definitely have the added benefit of removing COVID virus particles from the air. So they're definitely a good solution, especially for example, classrooms. Kids can make them themselves and they can help provide a much better air quality in a classroom setting. And they were invented by the Dean of Engineering at UC Davis, so they're a Yolo County product.
Woohoo. Thank you.
Okay, well, it sounds like we will get a little, when the grantor responds to us, we'll get some more information and go from there. But I definitely agree that we don't want to deal with logistics on an extreme level because $5,000 isn't very much.
That makes,
Okay.
brings up, I don't want to put Kristen on the spot, but it could be, matching funds from the county to, if we, if it looks like as we dig into the need for this, that more funds are needed because $5,000 doesn't go very far. That there's maybe that could be something the early action funding could contribute to, or not, but just wanted to throw that idea out there.
Yeah, we're always happy to explore those ideas and see what we can do in partnership.
Hey, Laddish, did you put your hand back up?
Just one quick thought, which is that it sounds like it probably wouldn't work for this, but if ever there are grant opportunities to help smoke proof or weatherproof some dwellings, I think that might also help us help satisfy some of what we're talking about and help protect people from smoke. So just a thought for the future, for something to look for.
Okay, well, it sounds like, as Moira said, we should apply for the funding and get information and make sure that it's not too tedious. That sound good to everyone? And thank you, Neil, for your practical outlook. We definitely don't want to make more work than it's worth. So any more questions for Kate or talking about that program, which had a lot more conversation than I thought it would generate?
I'll just say one more thing, and that is, since it's kind of a new thing, given the funding source came out, it brought up a new need that we haven't really discussed as part of the Community Wildfire Protection Plan. Maybe Fire Safe Council, would this be something we should just add to the list, even if we don't go for this funding this round? And where would it fit into we can decide,
I mean, add it to our project list.
Yeah.
That makes perfect sense. Our next report in the RTD report world is outreach and program update from Ally.
Hi, everyone. I think one important date that Tanya forgot to mention is we're doing a CWPP virtual meeting on December 8th.
Right.
So we did a couple of community meetings up in Cape Valley and in West Winters to solicit input for the CWPP for priority projects and values and community values and all of that. And so we're doing a virtual version of that. And I'll drop the link in the chat in just a bit for more information. And so we just need help spreading the word. I've sent out that information to the local newspapers, and I've been pushing some stuff through social media and to our fire safe councils to help us share that, just so we can, we want to cast a wide web across the whole county. Our other ones were kind of more focused on the local high fire areas, but this really allows input for the whole county. Sorry, little uninvited guest. And then just a quick update for the website. We're very, very close to finishing up the website. We're putting on the final touches. I've been in touch with some folks at the fire safe councils to get some input for stuff that'll go on the site. And so we're hoping to launch that in late November, early December. It'll be a sort of a soft launch, so everyone at the fire safe in our Yolo County Fire Safe Council can make comments and edits, and if we're missing any resources or any topics that we need to include. So you'll hear more from me about that soon. And program update, yeah, we're still going with the chipper program and the address sign program. And we haven't had a chipper day since I think our last fire safe council meeting, but so we still need help advertising those programs and getting folks to take advantage of those, especially for the chipper program, especially in like Winters area. So if anyone has any input on how to kind of get the word out and generate some people to take advantage of that program, I'd love to hear it. But other than that, that's all I've got.
Thank you. And thank you for remembering the December 8th meeting. We've just set that on Monday. So we're doing our outreach blitz. And Micah, do you have a question about that outreach? And you're muted. Well, several people. Oh, go ahead.
And maybe later on when we're talking about the wildfire protection plans is a better time for this question. But I participated in the one up here in Yolo County, and I was a little unclear. A lot of different ideas came up. And then when we've talked about later the items that are listed on the as possible projects on the plan, it's mentioned that, well, somebody needs to take these and fill out the template and write them up and describe what would be done. And so I'm not sure how, for the ideas that kind of just get generated from community members, where those go to actually be developed for consideration. Will different entities here in this meeting decide to take ownership of some or not? Anyway, if that process could be explained at some point, I'd appreciate it.
Okay,
I hope that was
clear. That's a great question. We've actually talked about that internally. Let's finish our report and then we can launch into that. How about that?
Okay, great. Thank you.
Okay. So the last report is from RCDs, is from Solano, and Karen and Chris couldn't make it because they are in other meetings. But Karen wrote me up a report. So the Solano Fire Safe Council meeting is going to be Monday, December 5th from 6 to 7:30 p.m. And that's the last opportunity to provide feedback on bylaws. Again, this is the Solano County, before they go to Solano County Council. And then Monday, January 23rd, 6 to 7:30 p.m. is when they're going to adopt the bylaws. And that will be also probably online. And then for outreach, we actually, Allie didn't mention this, tabled at the Salmon Festival in Winters, and it was a big success. We worked with Solano RCD and Solano Fire Safe Council and had conversations about home hardening. And excuse me, Karen made a game. So now we have this sort of fun game. If any fire safe councils would like to borrow it, now we have it. There was a great plant sale on Saturday at Roostaller Brewery, and by the time I got there, it was mostly sold out. So that was hugely popular, and there will be a spring sale probably in March like there was last year. And there'll be a fire education component at that plant sale as well. And just so you know, the Winters Tractor Parade is Saturday, the 3rd of December, and there will be a RCD and conservation organization float. So let the fun begin. And then the last thing, if you live in the burn scar of the LNU fire, and you live in Solano County, they're still collecting information on habitat impacts from those fires, Quail Fire and LNU fire. So that's it. Yeah, pretty exciting on both fronts. So any questions for Solano, which I may or may not be able to answer? Okay, let's move on to community fire safe councils in alphabetical order. Cape Valley.
Hi, everybody. This is Moira. Not a lot to report. Some of the our fire safe council are in the process of working on their CERT certification. So Community Emergency Response Team, which is a FEMA setup. And we know that Team Rubicon will be back here next year in the Valley to help us with some defensible space work that needs to be done on some properties owned by our seniors that are unable to physically do the work themselves. We also know that Team Rubicon will be here early next year they have a number of new members that need their Sawyer training. So we happen to have a forest up here, and they're going to take advantage of that and do some Sawyer training so that they can better help communities in Yolo and Solano County, because they'll have more bodies trained to play with chainsaws. So that's coming up. And other than that, don't have anything else to report.
Excellent, thank you. Doesn't look like anyone from Pleasant Valley or Solano County is here. So let's move into West Winters Fire Safe Council. Oh, Neil, you're muted.
Sorry. We really don't have anything new to report on. We didn't meet this past month, and we're trying to push projects along. We have a number of them underway, but really nothing new. So thank you.
All right, thank you. That's it for reports. I think I'm going to ask Kate to share her screen. And we'll just move into our project list. So if you remember in October, we sort of whipped through the list. I was on vacation. Heather and Kate made the list very readable and easy to see, easy to look at, as opposed to Excel with all sorts of other columns. But you didn't get to actually study it. So you received it last week, and hopefully you got to look it over. And this leads me right into answering Micah's question about, we've been encouraging people to fill out project forms. But of course, if you don't have an exact idea of what to do, then of course you can't fill out a project form. So there'll be certain projects, possibly like things like post-fire recovery or revegetating with natives that we, the Fire Safe Council, or we, the Resource Conservation District, could write up. But there's so many different projects on here, and some are just sort of vague wish lists that we put on the list, which is fine. And then some are super well, they're planned out, they've got project forms. So either one is okay, but if your project is on here and it doesn't have a form and you feel like you have enough information to fill out a project form, it doesn't have to be greatly detailed. But if it's, in your neighborhood, in your community, then you're going to know more about it than me. Or, at some point, as we get more funding and continue on this process, I may be able to come out and write it up with you. So, Micah, I hope that answers your question. And Heather, do you have anything to add to that? Did I capture that sentiment?
I think so, Tanya.
Okay. Yeah, it's an ongoing process. We're just trying to, instead of just have a wish list, to try to tighten things up. But there's a lot of projects on here. So going forward, I actually printed my list out and I'll be taking notes. Kate will be taking digital notes, and I'm wondering, without going deeply into the weeds on any one project, if there's anything on here that folks saw ahead of time that is way off track. What I'm hoping to do with this conversation is get some clarification, although actually there's not too many questions that I have. And then Heather had talked about last month about combining some things, make them countywide instead of just local, if that makes sense. And also Tracy had suggested, so we have a project, we have the description and the classification, on this front page, we have community outreach and education, but Tracy had also suggested having another column, which will be in the Excel document, for if a project falls into two different categories. We kind of put them in there, and if that doesn't make sense, then we can move around. Did that make sense what I just said? Does anyone have any questions before we start rolling through this? And we hope to not work at this for hours and hours and not wordsmith, but just get your feedback. And it looks like Moira raised her hand.
Yeah, I just wanted to point out that our fire chief, Jesse Capitanio, and I are individually working through all the Cape Valley associated projects, because we noticed at the meeting last month that there are some on there that's like never going to happen. They're absolutely impossible. So we're like, well, let's get those off of there. So we are working on fine tuning ours, and we'll have it ready for you guys either before the next month's meeting or right at the meeting, but hopefully before.
Okay, thank you, Moira. Yeah, that's something that we can talk about offline. So, Kate, do you want to scroll down? We've already talked about adding a smoke resilience line or a project, which I think sounds great. So things in yellow are things we had questions on. Oh, the LiDAR project. Huh. That was mainly focused on the Cape Valley. And if we don't have any comments, we'll just roll through this because it's.
And can I mention our conversations we had with the CWPP committee prior
Please.
to this meeting?
Yes, thank you. Yeah.
Which so we went through the project list with them, with the CWPP committee in more detail, and talked about some of the things that we brought up at the last meeting about how to present the information and organize the information in the CWPP while retaining all of the community input, and also how to organize it so it's not a million pages long and easily accessed. So the CWPP committee, and if folks, and there's several people in the council who are also on the committee who are here tonight. Correct me if I misdescribed this, but overall we wanted to, we have these category groups: community education and outreach, defensible space, and so on. Making sure, we, as the staff working on this, make recommendations where, if there's any little moves that need to be made between what you saw in the draft, in categories. Also give everything a project name, keep our project descriptions pretty brief so that the main body of the CWPP is more like 30 or 40 pages long and versus 200 pages long. And then for project forms, our project descriptions that go into quite a bit of detail, to have those in the appendices, and then also to have a searchable, sortable Excel document with all of the information as also as part of that, because it will be used digitally, I think, mostly. And if I missed anything, I apologize, but what we're, as the drafters of the document, also feel very sensitive to not losing any information, and basically wanting blessing to, wanting the council's blessing to continue to fine tune the draft and present our recommended organization to you in a draft document for your review. Does that make sense? Thumbs up from Don.
This is Neil, and I think you hit it right on the nose, Heather, as to what we ought to be doing and looking at it here. If we were to go through project by project tonight, we're going to have to take a break for dinner, and then it is a long process. And so I think, just getting the general approval of the format and what you're doing, and then if anybody has heartburn over anything that is on here or done wrong, then send it to Tanya so that that can be corrected. But I think look at the process, and you describe the outcome as being it's going to be project dense, but searchable, and so that it certainly gives, as an overview, a lot of detail as to the types of projects and the specific projects that are needed in this county, and that's, I think, what we're looking for.
Thank you, Neil. Yeah, I didn't want to go through the entire thing tonight because that would be too painful, but just reminding everyone that if there's anything that's really off, to please let us know. And Bill, I think I know what you're going to say, which is your project is not completed and it needs to be maintained.
Actually, that wasn't what I was going to say.
Oh, okay, good.
But yeah, because I went through this too. I mean, but are you looking for some kind of action tonight, or just kind of an approval of the format, as Neil was saying? I agree with Neil. The format is much better than it was, and making it searchable is a plus as well, because it's a lot of stuff, to go over, and I think everyone needs to take their time and go through this and comb through what is pertinent to their area. But if you're looking for just kind of an approval of the format, I'd certainly move that.
Yeah, we didn't have any specific action item. It was more of a general review. We'll be looking at the CWPP which this will be attached to. next month. So yeah, I think folks have had a week and you may have gotten to it or not, but if there's anything that you if you want to go through later and just send comments to me, that would be definitely the way to go about it for sure. We're just, getting a general approval and then move, as we narrow down and tighten it all up.
Well, I'll just say, looking at Chief Ramirez, and if you feel like we need to make an action as a council, we can do that since we're not a Brown Act body and don't have to post things ahead of time. For the good of the council, or if you feel like the head nodding and lack of opposition, it kind of speaks for that.
Yeah, I think a motion, if there's to provide clarity, helps out. So if there's it sounds like we can vacillate either way, provide clarity, it just helps out to get a motion and put it on the books as far as, we're talking specifically about the way that it's organized and the chart itself and the framework. Not the.
I think the action would be to.
What is the action we're considering, I guess?
I guess it would be approved for the Fire Safe Council coordinators to take the draft CWPP list and organize it, provide a recommended organization, something like that, and bring it back to the Fire Safe Council for review.
So that would take a motion, it sounds like, from the floor, from a member.
Bill Weisgerber, I'd move that.
Okay, we got a first from Bill.
And this is Neil, I second.
Thank you, Neil. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
Aye.
And any abstentions? Okay, so carried.
Excellent. Okay. Well, in that case, thank you, Kate. I think look over the list. If you have anything to add, send me your comments and then you will see it again on the 7th. That was, I want to tell everyone, I just had a moment looking at everyone on the screen of just really appreciating everybody going through this process with us. I have a feeling there's going to be a fire hose of money coming at us in the next year or two. And it's really wonderful to have, you will all have the background on how this all came about. So I'm really grateful for that community depth.
Thank you, Tanya and Heather, particularly for your hard work and all the team as well. Anything else for the good of the order?
I see Kurt Johnson has his hand up there.
Kurt.
Yes, Chief, thanks for
Kurt.
and Tanya. Real quick, I would recommend that everybody consider not just the west part of the county, but this is a county-wide CWPP. So if you're aware of any issues outside of the western portion of the county, I know that that's not traditionally areas that we think about, but it should be inclusive of that because, it is a county-wide plan.
Thank you for that reminder. And Kurt, just so you know, we're going to have one of our community meetings will be online. So we're hoping to pull people in who aren't in Gwenda or Winters. And then I have also met with most of the fire protection districts to understand their issues regard, not everybody in the western side of the county. So we're definitely making this a countywide process.
Would it be helpful to, before we leave today, to just quickly go over like the next couple months schedule? It won't take very long, just to overview.
Okay.
I could pull up
You have it handy?
what I presented to the Board of Supervisors.
Okay, yeah, that's a good idea.
It's one, let's see if I can share my screen. Oops. Okay, so this is just, I wanted to let the Board of Supervisors know because they are going to need to sign something. This has the whole overview, which everyone here already has been a part of. So whoops, just to skip forward to the CWPP Steering Committee providing input on the CWPP, which which happened last year. Sorry, that's scooted forward. Where are we? We are right here. It's essentially we're finishing up the public community meetings to make sure we leave no project stone unturned, I guess. And then also this, the draft CWPP will go out in draft form for the next month's meeting, I believe. Is that correct, Tanya?
That's the plan.
our
Yes, we
hope.
got it. We have a bunch of comments, so those need to be incorporated, tracked, and then that'll be released.
And then we'll probably go through another draft for January meeting.
Mhm.
And, it may be February that we are, the council is ready to approve the Fire Safe Council, the CWPP, and send it out to the other signatories that need to sign off. So that was my thought is Tanya and I met with several CAL FIRE folks within the last week, and the person who actually signs the CWPPs we got to talk to in person. And remind me who that was, Chief
Marcucci. Yeah.
And he said he's usually the last one to sign. Actually, Ben Sitter's in here, so he could probably speak to that too. But the Fire Safe Council, we want to make sure everyone here agrees that the draft is ready to go around for signature. I believe it's the Yolo County Chief Association that signs.
Yeah, so they'll need to review it as well, but they have been briefed.
The Board of Supervisors, I believe, also signs it, but don't quote me completely. We will figure that out. And then lastly, CAL FIRE will sign it. And because we've had CAL FIRE along the whole process, they're saying it's not going to take too long. So we can have a signed CWPP, hope, by June at the latest. So we put summer 2023. And then it's just doing projects after that. So this will be our strategic plan, right? Any questions on that?
Thank you for sharing that. That was super helpful. So yeah, we're rolling along.
And we have a meeting for December, right, on the calendar. But
Yes, it's the 14th at 3 p.m. and I will send out several reminders because it's all messed up because of the holidays.
Okay, so we're rolling it back 2 weeks.
2 weeks, yeah.
2 weeks,
and an hour.
Also rolling back the time because, well, it's RCD related. We have our annual holiday potluck at the Blue Note Brewery, which anyone can swing by.
And
say hi
board
if you want.
meeting, Heather, also the board meeting.
Right, of course. So we're just trying to be mindful of the holidays and make sure we're done with this. So then our next meeting would be the regular, fourth Wednesday in January. Okay. Yeah.
All right. Anything else for the good of the order before we sign off for the night?
Thank you all again so much for all your time and energy and focus.
And enjoy your holidays. We will see you in a few weeks.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Thanks.
Thank you.